Hey, what's up guys? Affiliate coming at you with another awesome Yu-Gi-Oh video. And today's video is going to continue the theme on the Trickstars that we followed in the archetype analysis and the deck profile. If you haven't already checked out the archetype analysis, I do recommend it because it's going to go into a lot of the cards that I only briefly mentioned in this video in more detail. As well as that, guys, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so you're updated whenever I make new content. So this video is inspired by me rewatching the episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Reign Season 1 where Aoi, aka Blue Angel, actually dueled. I realized she has at least 7 spell and trap cards that she has exclusive to her from the anime that we don't have in the TCG and OCG. So I wanted to do a video going over each of these cards in terms of artwork, effect, combos with existing cards and these anime exclusive cards themselves, as well as whether or not I think these cards could actually get printed or not. So for this video, I have a proxy that I have found from I think it's Almanic on DeviantArt, as well as a screen cap of the card from Yu-Gi-Oh! Wakaya showing it being used in the anime. So without any further ado, guys, let's get into it. Starting off with the first spell card, we have Trickstar Visions. Trickstar Visions reads, it allows you to special summon one Trickstar monster from your hand, halve its attack, and it has its effects negated if any. Then each of you and your opponent draw a card, and you can only activate one Visions per turn. So Visions was used by Aoi in episodes 7 and 17. And on the outside, seems a pretty powerful card for Trickstars. It allows you to summon a monster and draw a card. You do need to remember, of course, that this card forces your opponent to draw as well, so if you don't have a Lycris out on the field, they're just basically getting a free card. And it is halving your monster's attack and negating its effects. So the main purpose of Visions is actually to replace your hand and get a Link Summon monster out as quickly as possible. Artwork wise, it features Candina on the light stage surrounded by fog or dry ice, basically representing either the start of a song or the start of the live itself, which fits in really well, I believe, with the theme of the Trickstars, which obviously is based around Japanese idols, which is one of the main reasons why I actually wanted to play the archetype in the first place. I feel this card is actually quite a fair card. Its limitations are quite strong, meaning that it's negating your monster's effect, halving its attack, and you and your opponent draw a card. And you can only play it once per turn. So it's a very situational card that helps you swarm the field a little bit in order to make a Link monster, which is something that Trickstars don't really have. The two best monsters I think you would be able to utilize this effect with would be obviously Nightshade and Caravan. So because Nightshade's effect reads that she is, if she's sent from the field to the graveyard for the Link summon of a Trickstar monster, you can summon her back. I do believe, given the way her text or effect is worded, her effect would technically activate out of grave. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know in the comments below. This is an anime card, and it's really hard to get exact, effects and rulings on this stuff. But Caravan is obviously a better example because you can special summon Caravan from her effect, then you can use Visions, or you can use Visions to bring out Caravan, and then you can Link summon something. If you have another Caravan in your hand, you can discard the Caravan from your hand to double the attack of the Trickstar Link monster that you made, meaning you've only really used one Caravan effect per turn, but you've used 2 Caravans. So Visions I could see probably would get printed because its effects are not too broken. I feel like someone would find a way to abuse it though, so in the end, we never know if this card will get printed, but artwork wise, it's easily my favorite spell card in terms of the anime spells, in terms of effect and artwork. Their second spell card is Trickstar Temptation. It's a quick play spell card that if you control a Trickstar monster, you target one monster on the field whose attack is different from its original attack and return it to the hand. Its artwork features Lilybell and Holy Angel in some weird, odd CGI Microsoft Paint looking weird thing. I don't like the artwork on this card at all, and it's one of the main reasons why I think this card probably won't get printed. I feel like in terms of spells, Visions has a much more refined and more interesting design in its artwork than Temptation does, which is probably why Temptations is used actually in 2 episodes, episode 17 and 34. But honestly, it works really well with a card we do have called Trickstar Bouquet, which lets you target a Trickstar, basically returning a Trickstar to your hand and then increasing the attack of a monster on the field. So you can always increase the attack of your opponent's monster, and then use Temptation to bounce the monster that you increase back to the hand. But I feel like there's too many monsters these days that can't be targeted, so Temptation is just kind of a meh anime card. So for that reason, I feel like it might not get printed, but it's Konami again, so you never actually know. Their first trap card is Trickstar Cascade. So Trickstar Cascade is used by Aoi in episode 17. It reads, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, return one trickster card you control to your hand and negate the attack. Its artwork features primarily, I believe, it's Narcissus, either ascending or something, but basically it's meant to resemble her returning to your hand, which is we see quite a lot in the anime when monsters return to the hand, they have this like ascension thing going on. And it's nice to see Narcissus in artwork because she actually has a really nice design. What makes Cascade so good is it says it reads like return a trickster card. So if your opponent Raigekis your field or finds some way to, or torrential tributes or anything like that and then makes an attack, you can just return your late stage back to your hand and then you negate the attack and then you have a late stage for next turn. As well as that, you can also return again a Caravan to your hand and then discard the Caravan to double the monster's attack. As well as that, Cascade has a really interesting synergy with the trap card Trickstar Trait, which I'll talk about more when we get to Trickstar Trait. But I could definitely see Cascade being printed because it is a very gimmicky like attack negation battle trap within the archetype that definitely fits within the anime, given that Aoi is very limited with the cards she can play. She has to play mostly Trickstar cards, but I'd love to see Cascade get printed because it's a very gimmicky card, and if Treat gets printed, I definitely want Cascade to be printed, and I'll explain that more once we get to Treat. Their next trap, guys, is Trickstar Maribold, and this one is a bit of a wall of text, so we'll have to and it's a bit wordy, so we'll have to go over there very slowly. Its artwork features Nightshade and Mandrake, two of the newest Trickstar monsters surrounded by flowers, and is actually a really nice looking cardwork in terms of artwork. She uses it in episode 34, so her most recent duel, and its effect is as follows. During your main phase, if you link summon, return a Trickstar monster from your graveyard to your hand. During your main phase this turn, you can normal summon a Trickstar monster in addition to your normal summon or set, and you can only gain this effect once per turn. So this card is similar to Visions in the terms that it gives you some nice plus by getting extra monsters on the field, but it's also a trap, so it's slower than Visions. That being said, it does require, and also requires you to link summon in order to activate its effect. However, if you normal summon Candina, search for Lilybell, Lilybell's effect activates, you link summon, say, into Holy Angel or any link to Trickstar, and you chain Maribold, you'll get to return the Candina back to your hand, and then normal the Candina to get another search. So Maribold has some pretty nice synergy as well with Trickstar Treat, meaning it can be activated from your hand. I could definitely see Maribold being printed as its limitations are quite high for what it actually does. So again, and its artwork is quite nice as well, and I'd love to see it because at the moment we still only have one trap card physically for Trickstars, which is Reincarnation, and I'm sure that Aoi will get more spells and traps and monsters as we move on throughout the second season of the anime. Their first continuous trap is Trickstar Perennial, and it's only used by Aoi in episodes 25 and 26. It reads, once per turn, you can target a Trickstar Link monster you control, then send one monster it points to or the trap card itself to the graveyard. It cannot be destroyed by battle. So it gives pretty generic anime deck protection for the monsters. On the plus side, it can send itself to the graveyard, but it doesn't do anything in graveyard, and it's only once per turn. So I feel like this card would be very underpowered if it was actually released in the actual game, and no one would probably run it. I mean, I'm running almost every single Trickstar card that we have in my deck, and if we had this, I wouldn't run it because it doesn't do anything. If this card actually got released as an actual card, I feel like it would have a graveyard effect. It would like banish it, you can add a Trickstar spell and trap from your deck to your hand. Because it has the ability to protect something, I feel like you could have the limitation of this card is in the graveyard, except for the turn it was sent there, like some of the older archetypes that have, you know, these trap card supports. You can banish it to add a Trickstar spell and trap. So I could see it getting printed, given how irrelevant it is, and Konami likes to print irrelevant anime cards all the time. And artwork-wise, it features Catbat, so I'd get it because it has Catbat on it, and I love Catbat. But ultimately, this card is pretty and there's way better battle traps that we have access to. But again, like I said on an earlier card, Aoi's limited to Trickstar cards, so Perennial, I guess, is what the best she has at this point. Their final card, guys, is Trickstar Treat, and it is my favorite of all the cards we have looked here on this list in terms of artwork. Given it's called Trickstar Treat and looking at its artwork, it's obviously inspired by Halloween, and I guess I'm a little bit biased because it does feature Catbat, aka Sweet Devil. It also features Lilybell and Candina, basically giving out pumpkins we assume full of lollies because it's Halloween, but they're surrounded by zombie monsters, so I assume it's probably brains, whatever anime zombie monsters actually eat. Now, it's literally a wall of text, so you'll have to bear with me as we read it, and I'll do my best to explain what it actually does. It's used by Aoi in episodes 33 and 34, so her most recent duel, and it's actually quite a powerful card if you play it correctly. When this card is activated, place one Trickstar counter on it. You can place one Trickstar counter on this card and reveal a Trickstar trap in your hand. Set this card to your spell and trap zone, but destroy it during the end phase. It can be activated this turn. Only one card can be set on the field at a time with this effect. During the end phase, if 2 or more Trickstar counters are on this card, destroy it. If this card is destroyed, take 1,000 damage for each Trickstar counter that was on this card. Now, the first thing that has me worried is the word Trickstar counter, or the phrase Trickstar counter. Trickstars haven't really done anything with counters, and as soon as an archetype starts messing around in counters, yes, that does include spellcasters, although spell counters were actually pretty decent for a time. Basically, Trickstar, I get worried because there is no other mention in the archetype, both anime and physical TCG and OCG, that mentions Trickstar counters. Why couldn't you just say, put a counter on this card? Maybe they're planning on doing other stuff in the future that relies on Trickstar counters, I guess. But let's talk about the positives of this card. Of course, ignoring its amazing, beautiful artwork. It allows you to activate traps from your hand. Set traps and activate them from your hand. Set traps from your hand and activate them at that turn. You cannot activate the trap from hand. That's the negative. But plus side is you can activate cards like Reincarnation, or more importantly, Maribold, from your hand in your straight away. And because this card is used in the same episode as Maribold, I do believe, if I remember right, Aoi does use this card to activate Maribold. So being able to activate Maribold from your hand means that Maribold becomes like a spell card. Also, the biggest negative of this card is that if it's destroyed, you lose 1,000 life points for each Trickstar counter, and the activation of this card is already adding one counter. However, nowhere on this card does it say you can only set one card per turn with this effect. You can only set one at a time. So as long as you're willing to take a bunch of damage, you can set a bunch of cards with this effect. Ultimately though, here's the ultimate gimmick I mentioned before. If you have a Trickstar Cascade on your field, you can let your opponent attack you with a monster, use your Cascade, and then actually bounce your Trickstar Treat back to your hand, meaning you won't take any damage. However, of course, your opponent can just MST it, Twin Twister, or Cosmic, or Heavy Storm Dust through it, or any other Spell Trap Destruction immediately and make you lose all the damage. So I feel it's a very high risk, high reward card, which is actually a pretty fair effect when you think about it. And within terms of the Trickstar archetype itself, Cascade is the only way I can actually think that would be able to dodge that damage. I think it's fair that Trickstars finally have a card that burns themselves rather than just the opponent, although I am a little bit annoyed that it's not keeping with that 200 theme. But this card, if played correctly, can become very powerful. I would definitely love this card to get printed. I feel like it's a card that easily could get printed eventually, or it might be a card that we wait like 10 years for. But it can literally change. It can change a lot for the deck, and but if they were going to print it, they'd need to print a lot of the other Trickstar traps to go along with it, because it can't set spells from the hand. It can only set traps. But ultimately, guys, I think it's a very cool card that I would love to see printed eventually. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's every spell and trap that Aoi uses that we don't have in the TCG and OCG in the first season of the anime. And like I said, at this point, none of these cards have actually been printed, and whether or not they will is up to Konami, and we never actually know. But anyway, guys, what did you think of these cards? Which is your favorite? Which of them do you think is broken? Do you think any of them are underpowered, or how they can be abused in the archetype? Let me know in the comments below. And if you would like this video and like to see me do a video on the anime exclusive Amazonas and Harpy spells and traps, or even monsters, let me know in the comments below, and I'll definitely do one for you guys. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button, check out some of my other videos, and leave a comment, guys. I'll definitely love talking to you guys about this stuff. And until then, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you for my next video.